All right, in this video, what I want to talk about is something called SWOT analysis, SWOT. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we're going to make some notes in just a minute here, so have pen and paper as always for the Does It Pencil webinar. But what I want to start out with is just kind of a basic understanding, just a general statement about what SWOT is and what you should use it for. So SWOT is a point of view. It is a paradigm. It's a way of seeing things. And probably the easiest way to analogize SWOT analysis is it's like that 50,000 foot point of view. Okay, it's a way to look down and see yourself in your relationship to your environment. And you can use it individually or you can use it collectively. A lot of companies use it. I learned about SWOT when I was an undergraduate in business school in the 80s. So it's been around for a while. Okay, and the thing about things around for a while is they're around for a while because they tend to work. Okay, and we have all the clouds and the AI and all the other stuff, but people are still people. Okay, and so SWOT is a people kind of a thing. So let's make some notes. Okay, so first of all, let's get the words right. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. All right, so the first thing about SWOT to understand, the first real big element, is that two of them are internal and two of them are external. So the internals are the strengths and weaknesses, and the externals are obviously the opportunities and the threats. All right, so internals and externals. And the thing about internals is that these are things that you can control, and externals are things that you can't control. So really the fulcrum and the domain of SWOT analysis is this control thing. Now I'll give you some examples in just a minute about different strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But the first real grounding piece is two are internal, two are external, and this is really all about what you can control and what you can't control. Some people understand things better in pictures, all right? So let's just take a minute here and draw a very simple four-square graph just to further define and further explain what SWOT analysis is. So let's set it up this way. Let's do strengths, and the weaknesses to the right of that. And then opportunities and threats. So if we turn this into a four-square grid, it would look something like this, okay? Now, these strengths and opportunities, you can think of these as helpful. And the weaknesses and threats, these would be harmful. So that's the way the y-axis goes. On the x-axis, these are internal strengths and weaknesses, as I said before, and the opportunities and threats are external. All right, so that's a pretty simple four-square kind of a graph, word picture sort of a thing to help you further understand in your mind's eye what we're doing with this SWOT analysis thing. All right, now let's take some specific words and apply them to SWOT. So we really get a little bit better understanding, a little bit better definitional quality of what this SWOT thing is all about, okay? And so to do this, I'm just going to make up two examples, one for a business or a company and one for personal. And I'll be a little tongue-in-cheek about the personal one. But it might go something like this. So I put down my strengths. My weaknesses. Opportunities and my threats. So let's do business first. What would be a business strength? Well, a business strength might be my brand. Okay, and that's usually a pretty important one. And what might be a weakness? Lack of capital. So I can't expand my business. What might be an opportunity? Well, solving problems is always a good one. Maybe you have something you can solve somebody's problem. And a pretty common threat, an external, might be the government. So that's a pretty simple example of what a business SWOT analysis might look like. Now, I think that another really strong utility of SWOT is being able to use it personally. Okay, so like I said, be a little tongue-in-cheek on this one. So let's take a look at a personal one. And let's be specific. Let's talk about me being in a relationship. Okay, so one of my strengths might be that I'm really funny. Okay, that's a strength. That's an internal. And a weakness might be I don't listen very well. So an opportunity might be, let's just say therapy. That's always a good opportunity because that's an external. I don't have control of what happens in the therapy process. I mean, I kind of do, but it's led by somebody else. And a threat might be my partner leaving me. Okay? So again, the first two I can control, the second two I cannot control. All right, I want to finish up my little lecturette here about SWOT by giving you just a couple things to think about, okay? And these are notes that you definitely should make and write down. So let's talk first about your response. Okay, and I'm going to put / here, your decisions, because SWOT really is best taken as a decision-making tool. So as I said, strengths and weaknesses. These are internal. And these you can change. Okay? Now remember what I said. The fulcrum of this thing is control. So your strengths and weaknesses are things about yourself that you can actually do something about. These are the things that you can change. The second part, the opportunities and the threats, these are external. And these you can only respond. Now, some people are going to say, oh, well, I can control my response. Well, that's true. But you can't control the circumstances. You can't control the situation because opportunities and threats are external. So all you have left with those really is your response. Okay? So one more time, strengths and weaknesses, internal, you can control those. Opportunities and threats, external, you can only respond to those, okay? And one last thought about SWOT analysis. This should be selective, not exhaustive. All right, so the last thing I'm going to say about SWOT analysis is this. You should use this selectively, not exhaustively. Now, those two words kind of juxtapose science and art, okay? I mean, it's up to you to decide how you're going to use this, but use it. However, don't use it as a hammer to beat yourself up with, and don't just spend, weeks, months, and years in doing this, okay? Take the appropriate time, but remember, it's a decision-making tool, so make the decision and get on with it.